Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast more disliked than Ebenezer Scrooge.
Wow.
My name is Nate Heininger, and I'm here in person with Vince Amorca. You gotta say hello. Oh.
Hey, guys. I was locked into what I was going to say on the comeback, and I didn't even think about the hello.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. All right, Hambone, we are in person.
Ebenezer Scrooge was liked at the end of the movie.
You know what? Actually, that I have made this same point on this same podcast because I think that Scrooge and the Grinch, they get a bad rap.
You call me the Grinch all the time, and I get a bad rap, and I'm a nice guy. People like me.
So I guess I am a bit of a hypocrite in this moment.
You are. And stupid.
Well,
inconsistent. It's Christmas. I'll call you that.
We are here. It's Christmas. We're literally recording on Christmas. We just spent an hour and a half troubleshooting in my basement.
It is 11 p.m. in St. Louis.
This episode releases in 3 hours. And
this is our freshest episode ever.
This is probably our freshest
if you're listening
episode.
to this on Thursday morning.
Thursday morning.
Yeah.
We've both been employed in technology for a long time now, and we just spent so long trying to figure out how to make our microphones work and our camera work. And we did this last year with almost no problems.
We're at almost 150 episodes of this podcast, and it's new form, and it's still hard for us.
But we're here now, and to finish the point, Scrooge and Grinch should be seen as characters of change.
Yes,
they should be seen as positive people, but and we should all want to be like Scrooge and the Grinch. Rich, alone, living in a cabin at the top of a curly little mountain,
eating glass,
dogs, being obsessed with children. But we only think of them in their pre-form. That's why they're disliked. But they come around.
Yeah, Bill Murray in Scrooged.
I've
remember that
one?
Oh,
no, I've never seen it.
It's a modern retelling of a classic tale with Bill Murray.
Wow. And is it still modern if it was like 83 or 84?
More modern than Dickensian England.
Yeah. The Muppet Christmas Carol is my preferred Christmas Carol.
Total, maybe top 2 Christmas movie.
What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Probably A Christmas Story, if I had to, just because I've seen it so many times. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Sure.
When the kid gets his tongue stuck to the pole.
It's classic.
When the young boy can't put his arms down. The dog's in the house. I mean, it's just
bandits looking like bandits.
It's just classic.
So I just realized so. Here in the room, Ben is on a stool that's like 3 feet taller than me, so I'm looking up at him.
Yeah, I'm the big man.
It's also squeaking.
Can you hear that?
I can hear it in real life. I don't think you can hear it on the episode, but we really have no idea because we had no real sound check. You're also wearing headphones, and I think they're doing nothing.
I can hear it's a monitor. I can hear myself.
You can hear yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any headphones in.
This fancy.
I can hear myself quite fine.
Okay. I just got one in. I can hear you. I can hear you. Just making sure I'm not screaming at the people.
Yeah. We normally do this 1,000 miles apart, and having you right in front of me.
Are you intimidated?
Well, it's the smell, I think, is the problem. But
you know what? I'd smell a lot nicer if you're hot water.
Oh, come on. You're going to do this now. It was fine. You had no repercussions. We had a hot water scare.
It was very scary. I was scared, and I am currently sitting here unshowered on Christmas evening, Nathan.
Well, I'm happy to report it was just a scare.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll shower then.
Test came back clean. We're just fine. There's no problems with our hot water. It was a true Christmas miracle.
It was. It was like the arc of the Grinch. It starts off really bad, and then in about 90 minutes, everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you had a good Christmas?
We had a hell of a Christmas.
Yeah.
Hell of a Christmas.
Yeah.
We eat a tradition that we've started in the past handful of years is after or before present unwrapping happens. We eat kolaches, which are just like a bread with a meat inside of them, which every culture does. And these are, I think, Polish maybe or
sounds Polish.
Anyways, they're bread filled meat filled breads.
Sure. Bread filled meat would be
delicious.
I mean, it would be ultimately the same probably flavor profile as meat filled bread, but bread filled meat seems squishier.
Yeah, like an inverse corn dog. I'd go hard on that shit.
Yeah, an inverse corn dog. I think that's actually, when you put it that way, I guess that switches the ratio because now you have more meat than bread, probably.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
That sounds pretty good.
And healthy.
Definitely healthy.
So anyways, I went ham on some kolaches this morning. Presents, chocolate, mimosa, coffee, all my beverages. And then a lot of lounging.
Yeah.
And goofs. And that's about it.
Well, I did my standard tradition. I want to support the St. Louis Cardinals, so I spent $1,000 at Arby's.
On Christmas?
Of course.
Oh, my God. Those poor people.
You got to support the DeWitts. Mm-hmm. It's the holiday season.
Yeah.
We've got to eat.
It's the holiday season.
I'm singing. We got to eat at Arby's. And look right down the barrel of the camera. You got to eat at Arby's.
5 for $5, beef and cheddars.
I don't think it's 5 for $5 anymore.
5 for $5.
That's they had to build Ballpark Village, so now it's probably
so like 2 for $5. Yeah,
5 for $18.99 probably.
5 for $5, beef and cheddars.
Yeah, I guess it was 5 for $5. So was it $25? Was it 5 items?
No,
$5 each.
5 sandwiches for $5.
Yeah, that makes
fool.
It's been a long time since I've actually been.
Oh, he's lying. He's lying. You see.
Well, I didn't eat it myself. I spent $1,000. I gave it out to Tiny Tim.
You just throw $1,000 through the window and say, "You're welcome." That's tight.
Well, when you're not doing things like fixing your water heaters and stuff, you've got money laying around.
You should give all the spare money you have to the billionaires that own your sports team. That is. Yeah. True. Yeah.
That's the world that we want to live in.
Absolutely. And man, they are putting it to good use.
Yeah, that's especially the last couple of years. We were really seeing the fruits of all of our money.
I feel seen and heard by the DeWitt family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand you found some old bobbleheads. Is that correct?
I did. So we were at my mom's house, of course, for Christmas, having a lovely time, and she found like 3 boxes from. I was trying to put, I think, 20 years ago. And maybe unsurprisingly, a lot of Cardinals memorabilia in that. A baseball that our grandpa caught and gave to me at one of my first baseball games, which was very exciting.
Kind of bullshit he gave it to you, but that's fine. Well, wait. He caught it like at a Cardinal game?
At a Cardinal game.
Okay. Yeah. Then gave it to you at your baseball game.
Right.
Got it.
And let's see. I found so many bobbleheads. I have this like set. It's like a stand, and there are 4 baseball players on it. It looks like this. I think I received this in like 2003 or 4.
Okay.
We got Vina.
Not who I was expecting the first one to be.
Vina to start.
Sure.
Number 1 with a bullet.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols.
Right.
Big one.
Yeah.
And then there's a little area for a baseball that you could put in, like a little souvenir.
Oh, that's cute.
And then we have Jimmy Ballgame.
Okay.
And then I believe, oh, shit. I should have taken, I think it was Scott Rowland.
Okay, so it's the MV4.
MV4, yeah. Well, Vina,
I liked Vina. I'm laughing now because of comparing him to, but for a long time, like second base was, there was pretty wide open.
Yeah,
and Vina filled that gap for several years.
I feel like second base has sucked since 2004. There's Colton Wong was good for a minute.
Colton Wong,
I found a Colton Wong bobblehead.
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
I'm taking them both.
Nice.
You can't have them. But yeah, I feel like Vina was the guy. Also, the double grand slam inning.
Well,
so on and so forth.
I'm sorry to correct you in person, but that, of course, is Fernando Tatis.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah. I actually saw is on top.
Can we hang up? Can we be done?
It is Well, it is almost midnight. So I actually saw a thing today. It was on like the baseball subreddit of people saying like that the 2 grand slams in a single inning is probably the most unbreakable record in baseball.
Right.
And you can make that argument for a lot of things. Like there's a bunch of old timey, like probably no one's ever going to throw 426 innings in a season or whatever.
Ripken's, Iron Man.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them there's probably a whole slew of unbreakable records. Right. But theoretically, it's the beauty of baseball. There could be a guy who comes back around and plays 3,000 games straight, or there could be a workhorse pitcher who just defies all conventions.
Right.
But the sheer odds of hitting 2 grand slams in the same, to break the record, you'd have to hit 3 grand slams
in one
inning, which is what makes it feel unbreakable.
Right.
And that someone on the...
Even tying it seems impossible.
It does.
Let alone.
Someone went through and actually listed... It has actually been possible more times than you would think.
Yeah. Somebody's come up with 4 on.
Someone hit a grand slam.
Yeah.
And then come back around with 3 on. Has actually happened.
Right.
I think like 9 or 10 times. Tatis was the only one.
That's still insanely small amount.
Especially in baseball where it's
right.
It was sample size. I don't know of how many at bats there have been in baseball history, but it's a shit ton.
Right.
But I think the actual the particularly unbreakable part of that record, besides just the 3, is that it wasn't just 2 grand slams in the same inning. It was 2 off the same pitcher. Which is never going to happen again.
Yeah.
At this point, they're getting those guys out of there. Even if it's the mop-up guy. If you're going around that far, they're pulling you out, So, yeah, it's hard to say what's more unbreakable than another one, but that's just one of my favorite little Cardinal bits of lore that I watched that game. I was watching that game when it happened, and I'll never forget it. So that's what when you say it was Fernando Vini, I'm like, I gotta.
No, you are correct. And I was just, as we were talking about this, I was curious. Chan-Ho Park, who was the pitcher that those were hit off. Do you want to take a guess at how many pitches it took to let that all come together during that inning? I have the number. I just Googled
so how
it
many
right in
pitches
front of me.
did he throw in that
one inning? Yes.
Total? So
yeah,
67.
Crazily, it was only 42.
Okay.
This happened quickly.
Boom, 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 boom. Got his ass kicked.
I mean, people throw 40 pitches in an inning. It's not good. It's not what you want, and especially in modern baseball, you're probably getting pulled right after that, but that's really quick.
You can have a 40 pitch inning and it'd actually be like an okay inning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that wasn't.
That was not.
That was not a good
an all-time bad inning.
That was as bad as it gets.
Yeah, for all
guy.
I guess I can appreciate that we only focus really on hitting 2 grand slams in a single inning.
Yeah.
We don't frame the record as giving up 2 grand slams in the same inning.
Yeah, he had to be there for that.
Yeah, he is as equally culpable a part of this record as Tatis. That's cool. So how big is this bobblehead? You got 4 guys on it.
So it's a whole thing, Nate. It's a stand. They're all separate. You can mix and match. You can do whatever you want with them. But it's it came with its own stand. This was some type of promotion that I must have worn out at the time. But
you think you collected each piece individually at it
appears that way. If you remember this promotion, it comes on like a black stand. They each have their pieces, and then, like I said, there's a place for a baseball in the middle. If you remember this promotion, blue sky me,
sure,
post me on X,
yeah,
or whatever.
Comment on TikTok.
Oh yeah, cost me on TikTok. That's much better. Do that one. Yep.
Yeah.
Social media,
sure.
Or Bird Scored. What up? Tweet.
Well, that's the real one.
That's the real one. My homies.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty cool. So are you gonna like you can bring this home? You gonna mount it?
My mommy's shipping them out to Colorado.
Oh, sweet.
So
that's kind.
Christmas never ends for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any other interesting Cardinal memorabilia?
No, I will shout out my little brother, who is a thrift store king, got me like a 1995 Rockies like starter style jacket, which I'm super excited about, and it's really large.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look dope on opening day, hopefully with that. And he also thrifted me an Ozzie Smith shirt.
Nice.
That I'm super hyped on. So of course, people just get me like baseball and outdoor stuff, which is what I want. So it's great. I'm a pretty easy target at Christmas.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good.
For several years in a row now, people have either gotten me, Cardinal baseball stuff or pizza stuff, which you did this year.
Look at that.
We do like a family draw thing. So I'm in the position this year where Ben got me a Christmas gift and I got him nothing, which is really the ideal.
God, I didn't even think about it like that. What the fuck?
It's really the ideal setup.
Not cool
for me specifically. It got me a Detroit style pizza pan, which
Detroit City, yeah,
which I'm excited to give a shot.
Yeah, I would love to try slice it.
It's in the oven.
Pie.
It's on its way.
Okay.
I'm
starving.
I'm gonna ship some to Tarek Skubal.
Yeah.
Riley Green.
Yes.
Spencer Torkelson.
Sure. These are Tigers.
Winseal Perez.
Casey Mize.
Yeah, we can do this all night.
Who else you got? Matt Vierling.
Matt Vierling. That's a good one.
Javi Baez.
Oh yeah, greatest contract.
These
signing.
are the Tigers I know. These are the Tigers I know.
Yeah. Oh my. If you can't tell, we don't actually have a lot to talk about tonight.
The show's packed. I'm looking at the outline right now, Nate. The show is packed tonight. What the hell are you talking about?
We're committed to the feed. We're committed to the show. We've never missed an episode. I don't think we were going to ever fully miss this one, but this is by far the closest we've ever come to missing an episode.
We were going to record it because we have our microphones. I flew. It's all here. But actually making this podcast happen on a technical level was the hardest we've ever experienced.
It would have been pretty silly if the first one we miss is the one where
we're sleeping in the same house.
We're in the same room.
Yeah.
But no, we're here. Well, I guess we haven't actually concluded this and released it. Who knows? But so far, we've made it.
We've done it.
Yeah.
I say job accomplished right now.
Mission accomplished.
Damn it. George W. Bush style.
George Bush before
Mission
us.
accomplished. We did it.
Okay, so there is a little bit of Cardinal news.
Since we have such a packed show, I know I want to make this really quick.
Yeah.
Did you get anything baseball related, anything Cardinals related for Christmas?
Well, not yet, at least.
Okay.
No. I got a really nice bottle of soy sauce. I'm very excited to try.
Yeah, that's baseball players love soy sauce. That's
sure,
a good
why
one.
not?
Yeah.
I got the camera that we're using to record this episode right now, because that is podcast related, which is baseball podcast. It is baseball related.
Wow.
So
I'm looking down the barrel right now.
yeah.
What a camera, folks.
What's up? I believe you have the same one at your house.
I do. Look at us.
We now have the same camera and microphone.
We really are coming up.
Yeah. Wow. We out here. So yeah, it's Christmas week.
Mm-hmm.
Mozeliak normally working hard, burning the midnight oil. We know this,
of course.
Him and Heim.
I feel like he goes to sleep at like 8:30.
Yeah, they took the week off.
Yeah,
it's actually been a pretty big week for baseball.
Absolutely.
We have a relatively large hot stove segment.
We do.
But when it comes to Cardinals, basically no direct Cardinal action or real news.
No.
We can talk a little bit more about Nolan Arenado, which is a conversation that we've kind of beat to death over the last, really the last like 6 months. But we got one piece of, I thought, interesting news. But before we get to that, I'd been thinking about this a little bit, and then I saw a piece of Derek Gould's. He does these chats. I don't know if you ever go into any of them, but he'll like take live questions.
I love a Gould chat.
Yeah. Okay. We like Gould on the show. And he brought up a point that I think is very interesting, and I think is worth basically stealing his point and repeating on the show for for our listeners, because I think
this is journalism.
I do think we have been a little guilty of this, which is that there's definitely been a lot of like turning against Arenado right now.
Sure.
About him maybe demanding a trade and then refusing certain trade. And like, you and I were talking about shades of what he did in Denver, where he was directly like aggressive towards the ownership and got like forced the ownership into taking a really bad deal to get rid of him. And while there's definitely, I think there is some potential connection here. What Derek Gould brought up, and I think this is worth remembering, is that it's not exactly the same because
nobody in baseball is as dumb as former Rockies GM Jeff Breddick.
Sure.
That point needs to be made.
Yeah, and so there's that. Like, it's not the same situation as being with the Cardinals versus the Rockies. But also, it's worth remembering that Nolan Arenado has wanted to be a Cardinal for a very long time. And like the Cardinal legacy is something that he really cares about.
For sure.
And he has twice opted into a contract, once where he very obviously cost himself potentially hundreds of millions of dollars. If you remember this was right after his huge season. He could have opted out.
Guys like Xander Bogaerts were getting $300 million bucks. Yeah.
He could have opted out and got a multi-year, multi-$100 million deal.
For sure.
And he did not. And he did that because he loves being with the Cardinals and he chose to stay with the Cardinals. And so right now, the perception has been he's turning down trades, or like the discussion has been he's turning down trades and he's doing it like selfishly, or like he's being really picky, and it's like, why? If you want out, just go wherever you want. But if you reframe it a little bit, and you think of it more as actually he just really loves being with the Cardinals, and he's only going to accept a trade if it's something that makes a lot of sense for him personally.
Yeah.
And he just really wants to be a legacy Cardinal, and he loves it here. Like, I don't know that he deserves the fan derision that is starting to creep up a little bit for how this whole thing is going, because that is a pretty different type of decision making than maybe it's been framed before. So I thought that was an interesting point. I'm not even necessarily saying that I fully back that, but I definitely had started to fall into the hole of like, well, if you want out, just go. And if it's actually he doesn't want out, and he'll only go if it makes a lot of sense for him, and we all love Nolan Arenado, like, we should actually maybe switch up a little bit and say, like, we support him staying here because he's a future Hall of Famer, and it's a fuck ton of fun having Nolan Arenado on the team. And if he wants to be here, then that's awesome, because I have watching the Cardinals is a lot more fun watching with Nolan Arenado on the team.
Absolutely. And I think even a diminished Nolan Arenado accomplishes that. Yeah, and I think I agree with that. We did kind of hint at the idea of what happened with the Rockies and what's happening here, how that could lead to a perception of him as being this kind of hard to get along with type of guy.
Yeah.
But like I said, I cannot be more clear about that. There's no team in professional sports that's ran like the Rockies, and Jeff Bredich is arguably one of the worst GMs of all time for doing what he did to him, to Troy Tulowitzki, to DJ LeMahieu, to several Rockies players. So I don't think it's not all in the same. I think the problem is the reporting that we are hearing is that Mozeliak has really made it sound like Nato is gone one way or another. He even said, referencing the Katie Wu article we were talking about last week, if it's not Nato, we're going to have to move somebody else. But they seem pretty sold on that fact. All of that being said, my feeling, and I think we laid this out when this conversation first started, is that we believe the Cardinals have a chance at being competitive in 2026. If Nato is here for that, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Having a guy to lead that team, probably not statistically, but emotionally and from a culture standpoint, I think would be great. And if we're going to watch 500 or less baseball, watching that with Nolan, for you and I, who are people who watch 150 plus games a year, would be so much better.
Yeah.
I do think they need to shit or get out of the pot, though. Like we were talking about last week, like, is the rebuild being squished by these players opting in? And the Cardinals need to if They need to make a line in the sand, and if they want to keep Nato, keep him. If they really want to start this rebuild and get back that almost $30 million a year because it's being subsidized by the Rockies and everything like that, then move on from them. I get that Nato has a huge say in this, but you kind of have to make the decision, and I think that's where my frustration is coming from. To your point about Nato wanting to be here, I think it's pretty clear. I think that we saw how fired up he was when he came over, when the Cardinals are winning. I think expecting that out of him when the Cardinals are not winning is a little unrealistic. This guy's clearly a momentum guy.
Yeah.
He wants to win. He has stated that more than he stated anything else.
Right.
So I get it. And I'm sure some St. Louis fans don't like watching him kind of like Eeyore a little bit out there, but I don't think it's taking away from his like play on the field. I don't think he's trying less. If anything, he might be trying too hard.
Yeah. Well, there's clearly a degree of the fan base that has written him off at this point, that they actually point to him as part of the problem. And
well, that whole him not being a leader thing, I get that maybe he's not the type of leader that Albert Pujols or Yadier Molina, but that does not mean he is not a leader. Leaders come in all different shapes and sizes, and I think him being who he is, and by that I mean a Hall of Fame level player, is good enough.
Yeah.
So if people perceive problems with that from the outside, I find that totally silly.
Well, everyone's always looking for a story, right? Well, it's all narrative stuff. We don't really know what that clubhouse is like.
And it really feels like, to me, like you're still into your girlfriend and she found somebody else, and you're like, oh, she was crazy actually the whole time. I actually, I got more time to play poker online now. Yeah. So. You know what I'm talking like.
Yeah, you're justifying.
It's not cute either.
It's not cute.
It's not cute.
No.
She was a nice girl.
I think hating on. She was a nice girl. Why you got to be like that?
That's what I'm saying.
She found someone better. You're
suck.
the problem.
And in this situation, I think the Cardinals front office has admitted they're the problem.
Yeah,
it's not me, or it's not you. It's me.
Yeah,
says John Mozeliak.
Yeah. No, he does not.
Actually, he kind of.
Yeah.
Mea culpa, sort of, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, by quitting and hiring a bunch of new guys, But
he's getting boxed out quick.
Yeah, we did learn that we've gotten a little more context from it was literally breaking news as we were recording last week. Nolan, for a number of reasons, but a primary reason he turned down the Astros deal is that he thinks it's too early in the offseason. I do think it's partly he saw them just trade their best player. So he's like, I don't want to go to a team that's also going to be rebuilding. So it seems like he could maybe still okay a trade to the Astros if they do some other things that show they actually do want to win this year.
Well, and I, thinking about this, obviously on the last podcast, we were in the moment responding, immediately. Yeah. I think it's important to note that their best pitcher is also, Framber Valdez, is also about to be a free agent. And I would imagine, if he's reading the tea leaves and he's seeing somebody like Tucker leave, Framber Valdez might potentially leave.
If they trade him, then you're like, okay.
Well, that's your two best players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you might be looking at that versus the Cardinals, and you're like, well, I think the Cardinals could compete in 26, and I think the Astros maybe could compete in 26, and I love being a Cardinal, so why would I go there?
Right.
But if the Astros go out and sign, a Corbin Burns or whatever, and actually push in for this year and just say, trading Tucker just made a lot of sense for our team, but like we still want to win this year, then maybe he okays a deal later.
And we'll talk about this more in depth later, but they just signed Christian Walker. They have Isaac Paredes on the roster. Yordan Alvarez is likely their DH.
Yeah.
They might not even be a spot for Nolan anymore because of that signing.
They might have moved on. Yeah. And we also learned, I thought this was pretty interesting, though it makes a lot of sense to me. The Cardinals rejected a swap of Nolan Arenado for Marcus Stroman.
Yeah.
Now Stroman would be a free agent at the end of this year, so the Cardinals would be shedding that the last 2 years of the Arenado contract. But Stroman is not necessarily cheap this year. He's $18.5 million. And I think Cardinal fans are pretty familiar with Marcus Stroman at this point.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was interesting. You can see why it would work for the Yankees. But I thought this was a pretty clear deny from the Cardinals too, because that doesn't solve any of your needs either.
But what's so confusing is that this was laid out as a salary dump at the winter meetings by Mr. Mozeliak. That would be shedding you, 65% of Arenado's salary for in exchange for Stroman's 1 year at a,
Well, what this tells me, because it would ultimately
that does the thing.
It does do the thing until you remember that the Cardinals also apparently, based on reporting, offered to pay $15 to $20 million of Arenado's contract when traded to the Astros.
Right.
And so what this tells me is they maybe are either they're looking for something that gets them something back.
Yeah.
They're not just going, because the Stroman thing would be a true salary dump. Yeah. That would be worse than getting some flyer prospects.
Yes.
Because you're getting 1 year of an aging pitcher and a year that you don't expect to win. I mean, that is about as salary dumpy as you get.
Unless you think you can maybe flip him at the deadline and try to then get something. But no
one's really banking on Stroman right now.
Well, he's the wrong kind of pitcher to ground ball guy. It's just not the pitcher that you can dream on as much as other guys. Yeah.
And so it does tell me, like, I'm interested. Who were they hoping to get back in the Astros deal?
Right.
If they were willing to pay $20 million of Arenado's contract, then they're okay with spending $20 million still, which is basically Stroman. So they just didn't like the return.
Yeah.
Which does tell you there's at least a little bit of, there's a little bit of like intent on the deal. They're not just going to simply accept something for the sake of accepting something.
So once again, we cannot trust anything that John Mozeliak says.
Right. Yeah.
It's just repeat that to yourself in the mirror over and over. It's not going to happen.
Which I think is relevant because really the rest of the Cardinal news that we're getting right now, other than like ex-Cardinal things that we want to talk about, it's almost all just rumors about teams that are interested in Cardinal players. And I think like when it gets to this level, when you get these rumors of saying like teams are interested in these players, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, but there's probably some sourcing that conversations are happening.
Well, not all clubs are as tight of the ship as the Cardinals. That is one thing you can absolutely give Mozeliak credit for is Cardinal news almost never leaks.
That's true. But other teams do. And so we've learned about some teams that are interested in some Cardinal players. And these are the same Cardinal players that the front office so far has been saying, we intend, we have no reason to trade these guys.
Right.
And so we learned that they probably are actually out there having conversations, which is exactly what they should be. So I don't think we have a ton to add to this, but I think it's interesting. Both the Blue Jays and the Diamondbacks have expressed interest in Ryan Helsely. So those conversations are happening. It makes a lot of sense with the Blue Jays are perpetually trying to make it appear that they're going for it at the very least.
Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks have made a few moves this offseason. And they obviously just, not last year, but the year before, had sort of a miracle run. And you can tell they kind of want to keep that going. So Ryan Helsely is going to look good on any team.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Do you think any of these teams would have the pieces to get that done?
I think they both do. And I think, we've talked about.
He's dying, folks.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I'm not, by the way, I know we're in person.
Yeah.
I'm making no effort to save your life if something starts happening.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Doug. I wouldn't trust you to do anything anyway. I think, when you look at those two teams, obviously they have pieces that the Cardinals can use and everything. And the Blue Jays I find really interesting. I think it's hard for me to understand exactly what Ryan Helsely's value is. We broke down the Devin Williams trade, but that was a 2-for-1 trade, and that's a number 3 pitcher in Nestor Cortez and a prospect that might be popping out of nowhere. When you are trading with the Blue Jays, who have had a lot of action going on, by the way, we've talked about them picking up Andres Jimenez, which I think is a low-key, really big move. They got Joey Loperfido at the deadline last year, which I think that could turn out really good for them. He's a potential 5-tool player that's doing a lot of things. And I think they're going to re-sign Vladdy Jr. At least I hope that they do.
Yeah.
Davis Schneider is a name that comes up for me, who is a guy who isn't a amazing baseball player.
What a start. Okay, cool. Go on.
But he is young.
Sure.
He hits the ball really hard.
Okay.
He can play multiple positions, and he's a right-handed hitter. He can play second base. He can play the outfield corners. He has some really interesting exit velocity numbers from last year. The guy thumps.
Sure.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is that a good deal? If you can go get somebody who is a major league contributor that has 4 or 5 years of control, are you happy with that for a Ryan Helsely trade? Or are you shooting higher than that? Do you want a prospect with a juicy future value number next to his name?
Yeah, do
you want Statcast?
Yeah. Well, those don't have to be exclusive, right? But this is one of those things that as a fan and like an armchair GM, my gut reaction is like, no, we're looking for lottery tickets now. You know, the whole Cardinals system has been these guys where it's they're going to contribute at the major league level. Any team will be happy to have them. But you can't make an entire team out of them.
Right.
And I don't know that right now the Cardinals need to be going and adding more of those guys, because that seems like to be what we have. We need the high end. We need the stars to pop. And when you're sitting with what we all believe to be one of the best trade chips on the market, I think it would be disappointing to walk away from it saying like, hey, we got a guy that's going to contribute. And it's going to be fine. Like, we'll all be happy with it, but it's not going to change the team. You know? I think that I would be disappointed, and I'd rather get the guy that's maybe even younger and may never even make it to the majors, but has that potential to be like a long-term impact.
Yeah. And then obviously when you're talking about those guys, the conversation gets really squishy because
everyone wants them.
And also every org has those guys. And it's, do you want the guy who's in triple or in single A who could be a guy, but you're not going to know for 6 years?
Right.
Or do the Cardinals really intend to turn this around quickly? And that's kind of why I'm not saying that Davis Schneider is my guy or whatever, but looking at that, he's kind of an extra piece. He's a guy who could elevate. He's a guy that could hit 35 bombs and could probably do that quickly, or at least you'll know very quickly. Or do you kick it down the road like you're talking about and improve those minor league systems? Because I'm kind of still at like, I have the patience for 1 year, but I want to get going. We need this team needs to be good now. I kind of look at it as our whole as right-handed power hitters.
Yeah.
But you might be right. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and those guys are often like Davis Schneider are like the guys that get traded, because they make up the roster. Like that's like the league is built with Davis Schneiders.
Yeah.
And everyone's clutching
Schneiders.
Schneidai.
The Schneids.
The Schneids. There we go. Everyone clutches their 19-year-old international prospects who have elite bat speed, strike out 39% of the time, but when they connect, it's beautiful. Right. And the Cardinals we almost never have those sorts of guys, but we also then never end up with a Julio Rodriguez, or Javi Baez 5 years ago, right?
Can Ryan Helsely coax a team? I would say both of these teams. The interesting thing about both of these teams that we're talking about right now is that I think the pressure is on them. Yeah. I think that the Blue Jays have kind of kicked around in the middle of the AL East for too long. For I think what that front office is trying to do. Right. And like you talked about a couple of minutes ago, the Diamondbacks got really damn close to it.
Yeah.
And they have a young core. They have Ketel Marte. They just traded for Josh Naylor. Corbin Carroll might be one of the best players in baseball right now. The pressure is on them to improve quickly, and Helsely is the icing on any playoff team's cake. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, which you're hoping the Cardinals are leveraging. And, we don't know what conversations are happening, but you'd like to think that Bloom and Mozeliak and out there are basically stoking a bidding war for the best closer on the market. Devin Williams was traded. None of the other guys are being traded. There's no one in the free agent market that is Ryan Helsely. So you'd like to think that he's out there juicing and finding the right piece. But I agree with you. Like it's a challenging equation because the Cardinals do not want to and will not do a full rebuild.
No.
And so I think you're probably right that it's unlikely that it'll be a Davis Schneider to me, but it's also not going to be like a 19-year-old kid that we hope shows up, in 3 or 4 years. They're definitely looking for someone who will be contributing this year or next.
I also think and I feel like we're kind of picking on Davis Schneider right now, and he's a very fine player. He could elevate. I really do think that. But the idea of trading 1 year of Helsely for any player that you get 5 to 6 years of control, and you think like that alone is just super valuable. Like, I don't know if that's how the new Cardinals are going to be thinking about things, if it's just going to be control or if they are going to be looking more for impact. We don't know the answer to that yet.
Yeah. Well, control is cool if they're good, right? Like, I know that seems obvious.
But I mean, having a major league regular that could play 150 games that is not bad is also really good.
It is, but it also creates the log jams that the Cardinals have had forever, where you're like, this guy is too good to be at AAA, but he also is not going to change the team.
Right.
And if you have that at every position, you have the Cardinals of the last 4 years, right? And so, like, you have to, you can't just keep having a bunch of 2 to 3 win players who have just need a slight bad season to suddenly be below average. And then, you're stuck there. But also, you'd never want to try like the young upstart kid because you don't want to lose the 2 to 3 wins that these guys are providing. And you just end up being in the same spot over and over and over and over. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that this is probably the stuff that's keeping these guys up at night is finding this right balance. But we also have no idea what types of offers they're actually getting.
Yeah, and to be clear, like I just picked out a couple of that player because I thought he was interesting.
Sure,
it could be anybody. If the Cardinals have more power in this bidding war for Ryan Helsely, I'd love to get a young arm.
Right,
because a young arm is something that you can dream on, and you kind of know, like Davis Schneider probably is what Davis Schneider is. But like Gilbert,
which, by the way, 0.4 WAR in 2024.
I'm just saying, look at the StatCast numbers. There's some interesting
I know.
things
There's
going
some
on
upside. There's some upside. I get it.
I'm looking at the Arizona Diamondbacks. You got a guy like Gilbert Diaz, who is a young kid in AAA who throws a bajillion miles an hour. Right. Maybe just go take a ticket on him and see what happens. And I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that the Cardinals need to trade Ryan Helsely. We've talked about this.
Nothing has changed in my mind about that. Like, I know, and I am actually still of the belief that it's all posturing.
Yeah,
there's no way Mozeliak and Bloom and all them don't recognize the same thing. That we're saying, that everybody in sports media is saying. Like, MLB trade rumors, they have Helsely as, I think, number 2, maybe number 1 as the top trade targets of 2020. Like, there's no way they're sitting there going like, well, but also we might win in 2025 and we should have him. It's all about market management and finding the exact right moment to trade him.
100%. What I'm kind of addressing more direct, to say it more directly, is that I saw some comments talking about you'll get more for your dollar at the trade deadline. Right. I 100% agree with you. I think that you're right, but I don't think we have the luxury to take the chance on Helsely being healthy to that point, and that's why I think it needs to happen before he throws a pitch at spring training.
I agree. Yeah,
and you'll get less for your dollar. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying,
maybe we just don't know. We don't know what the market is.
Sure.
So there was another rumor out that the Tigers and the Guardians are interested in Eric Fedde and Steven Matz. These also, I don't find it surprising at all that the Tigers and Guardians are interested in Fedde.
Yeah.
He is in a baseball world, he is incredibly cheap, $7.5 million for what will be a good starter on any team. And these are mid to low market teams, so Fedde is exactly what they want. The only thing that really stood out to me is that this is, I think, the first real rumor we've seen that teams are checking in on Steven Matz.
Yeah.
Which, great. We did a whole thing on Steven Matz and that the Cardinals, like, if you can trade him, like, go
Absolutely.
for it.
Yeah.
So I guess I was just glad to see that, like, there's some of that actually going around.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of those guys, and he'll come up in prospect or in a fantasy baseball articles and stuff like that. He has the skills that pay the bills. He just can't stay healthy. Yeah. So of course a team is going to take a chance on him. It's also only $11 million. That's not a lot in baseball money.
And you could maybe get the Cardinals to throw in 2 or 3, and all of a sudden he's a $7 million, $8 million starter. And if it sucks, it sucks. But if it hits, it hits.
Yeah.
And maybe someone just buys him as a reliever and just says, we're not even going to bother. We're going to get him for $8 million from the Cardinals because they're throwing in 3. We're giving a prospect, and we are paying for what we believe will be a really good reliever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you trade one or both of these guys, and they're not going to change the system either. You're not going to get Jackson Jobe back from the Tigers. But again, I think getting in fresh arms, getting in young players, getting in just new blood, guys that aren't 33 plus owed millions of dollars is probably just healthy for the organization. And I mean, maybe Serfolio can snipe a good guy from the Guardians because he knows that system better than anybody. You can go get one of his guys, and even if this guy, looks suspect on Fangraphs, I'm happy to take the chance.
What do you think we get if I throw in one of my Detroit style pizzas that I'm going to be making?
Well, to the Detroit, I think they're going to say, I don't think you get this, man. I think it might make more.
I'm going to change the game.
I think you might want to throw in like a square beyond compare, because I think then they would say, oh, okay, we don't have this here. But I think I don't think you get it. I think you're missing.
I don't know. I think I might change the game.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to revolutionize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you think giving them something that they have in abundance will sweeten the pot?
Yes.
Smart. It's smart.
Yes. Thank you.
Hey, Siri, remind me that Nate said this in 2 months, okay?
How many Emo's pizzas can fit into a Detroit-style pizza? It's
like 100. They're so paper thin.
It's got to be like 5.
I think one Emo's pizza is 1 square of Detroit-style pizza.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. That's most of the rumors that we got this week. Again, there's been a lot of movement, though, around the league this week. I'm going to say, like, he needs a break. You know what? He's been working hard.
So put in a hard 20 every week.
Dude, yeah. I'm glad he's spending time with the family.
Yeah.
He's probably wakes up in his little bed.
Do you think he has footy pajamas?
Scurries down and the DeWitt family's there. And they're like, here you go, Johnny. And, they're handing him little treats and things. And they've got like carrots that they all took a bite out of. And
I get where you're going, Nate.
Do you?
I see zero whimsy in John Mozeliak.
I guess I'm trying to paint a picture that he is like a child to the DeWitts,
Yeah. I just see very little whimsy and wonder in him.
You know what? The bow tie game makes me question your statement a little bit.
So to me, that is a guy that is reaching for a fashion piece as a personality.
But that personality, I think anyone who wears a bow tie as consistently.
Do you think Ken Rosenthal's like fun at parties with his bow ties?
I think he's got some whimsy.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's just because he's so short, though?
No, and I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to dig into that bit, even though I want to. As I sit staring up at you, you're like a giant, bowl full of jelly.
Wow.
I think Ken Rosenthal seems like a whimsical type guy. I think anybody who wears bow ties all the time.
Yeah.
Is got a little bit of like, hoo, 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 you know, like a little bit of like a little bit of like, they want the,
the golden ticket. What do you?
yeah, like a little. There's a little Wonka-esque. I mean, he sounds like a Muppet.
Okay.
And he wears bow ties.
Okay. We got to get him on the pod.
We got to get him on the pod.
We got to drill down on that.
I mean, he said, "Great question" to you directly.
Yes.
Like 5 months ago.
So he, at one point, was aware that I existed.
He looked at you.
He did. Oh God.
Yeah. You turned to stone. The Yankees.
You mean I turned rock hard?
Oh God. I mean, he's a fashionable man.
Oh, a handsome man, and what a tan.
He does.
Wow.
He does.
He works out.
He does.
Yeah.
Strong hands. The Yankees have agreed to a 1-year deal, $12.5 million, with Cardinal legend Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
Now, you and I, we had our game.
Yep.
You and I, we both
couldn't have been more obvious to us.
Couldn't have been more obvious.
Yep.
Yankees losing out on Soto, go on a spending spree.
They really did.
And Goldschmidt is now their starting first baseman for 1 year. I mean, we were so sure this was going to happen. We've talked about this a lot already.
Yeah.
It's a great landing spot for him. Maybe they'll trade for Arenado and complete the other half of our prediction. But ultimately, you know, we've already known that he wasn't going to be a Cardinal again, but this is the final, you know, it's done. It's official.
Yeah.
He is now done with the Cardinals. And, you know, that makes me a little sad. Paul Goldschmidt was, and I think forever will be, one of my favorite Cardinals. And, you know, he won an MVP as a Cardinal. And though the 5 years he spent with us didn't ultimately go the way we wanted to, there were some very high highs with him on the team.
Oh, my God, yeah.
NLCS with him on the team, NL Central win with him on the team. MVP with him on the team. As we outlined with Helsely on the episode earlier this summer, a really good guy for the community. And I wish him well with the Yankees. I hope that the Yankees lose terribly.
Yeah.
But I hope that you know, Goldie can find it a little bit and has a bit of a bounce back and continues to seal the Hall of Fame you know, trajectory here. I do wonder.
I think this will be a big boon for his Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it helps if he has a good season.
Yeah.
Even like a average to above average season. It certainly helps to have like the New York media on your side from a writer's perspective and a voting perspective. I do wonder what this does from a like legacy Hall of Fame sort of thing standpoint. Because I think we all thought that if he extended with the Cardinals, he probably goes in as a Cardinal.
Yeah.
Now he may bounce around for a year or two, which tends to cloud the whole thing. That doesn't really matter. Just as like a selfish Cardinal fan, like I want him to be like
Scott Rowland picked the St. Louis Cardinals. He bounced around very similarly to how Paul Goldschmidt is probably about to. Now, obviously, Rowland won the championship, which that tents everything. I'm guessing, you know, we got to know Paul just by watching him speak to the media over the past few years. He's going to be a no hat guy. Yeah. And he's going to say all the right things. And he won't say anything bad about anybody and then go live a very quiet life.
Yeah, that's probably
That's
right.
my guess.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, good for probably a good signing for the Yankees. I mean, we'll see. Like we all view him with Cardinal colored glasses. We view him with Paul Goldschmidt colored glasses. It was a pretty rough season for him in 2024. $12.5 million is a really good deal. That is,
oh my God,
that is, just proving, you know, you're paying for what he's done.
Yeah.
But I hope he bounces back. But those big swings don't tend to age well. And I mean, that was part of the surprise of his MVP season at 34 years old.
Yeah.
But that swing type, I mean, the approach is going to stay.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll see. I hope he has another good year or two left in him.
Yeah, I don't think the Yankees need him to be MVP Paul Goldschmidt, which is great for him. Obviously, they have Aaron Judge. Don't forget that they got Jazz Chisholm last year. They just acquired Cody Bellinger. Giancarlo Stanton had a good year when he was healthy, and Jason Dominguez might be that dude.
Dude, I'm a big fan. I'm a big believer in Jason Dominguez as being he's going to be a stud.
So Goldie doesn't need to be what he was for the Cardinals, which that alone is a huge weight off of his shoulders. Obviously, Yankee Stadium, even though it's not as good for righties as it is for lefties, we know that Paulie's got backside power. I can see him doinking dongs over that left field porch all day. I also think it was a bad year last year. We didn't have a lot of fun. Goldie didn't have a lot of fun. Over these last 100 plate appearances, just to kind of illustrate how he ended the year, he had an over 400 xWOBA. He was crushing it, which I think even doing it for, obviously that's a short amount of time. That shows you there's something still in there, though. He can
over 400 is true elite, like MVP level.
His bat speed was still in the top half of baseball last year. And I'm just going to go down these really, really quick. His xWOBA, expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, average exit velocity, barrel percentage, all well above in the top half of MLB last year. And his hard hit percentage was in the 92nd percentile last year.
Yeah.
And obviously he was making worse swing decisions. Not everything was going the right way. He was striking out more. But those are raw skills right there.
Sure.
You apply that to a year where he is in a better offensive environment, has a better offensive team around him, and maybe just gets a little lucky.
Yeah.
You could see him being a solid contributor. We know he's a good base runner. We know he's a good first baseman.
Yeah.
I could see him having a really nice year with the Yankees.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why we all predicted him to go there.
By the way, I hope he goes mustached, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess he has to shave his perpetual 5 o'clock shadow.
That salt and pepper shadow
Yeah.
But I hope he goes mustache.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to talk about that and a lot more. We're going to talk about other moves around the league.
Just his mustache.
Yeah, just his mustache. But before we do, we want to remind everyone that this show is supported on Patreon. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. If you want to support the show, the time and effort, it is basically midnight now here on Christmas. Christmas, Hambone. What are we doing?
We suck.
But we're here. We're doing this.
Yeah.
And if you want to support the show and all of that takes in the years we've been doing this now, consider the Patreon. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Join the Discord. It's the Bird Scored. Got a lot of stuff on the website. Go and check it out. If you want to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, that really helps as well. And tell your friends. Podcasts mostly still expand through word of mouth. So we're about to be in January. And January is almost February. And February is pitchers and catchers report.
Dude, lay it on them, Nathan.
We're
Let's
not
go.
that far away.
Hell yeah.
It's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
And now's a great time to get in on the pod. So, Ben, where can people find us elsewhere online?
Yeah, you can skeet us on Blue Sky. Are they still calling it skeet?
I think so.
You could skeet us over on Blue Sky. We are at Talking About Birds on Instagram. We got a TikTok. You can come look at our faces in this video of us sitting in Nate's basement on TikTok. You can listen to this show on Spotify or YouTube if you are one of those freaks. TalkingAboutBirds.com, shirts, all the stuff that Nate previously mentioned. You can email us questions. You can ask Nate, will he ever make me a Detroit-style pizza in that pan?
Dude, it's about to.
It's coming out of the oven.
It's coming out of the oven.
At talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. Send us questions or thoughts or whatever threats to that email. And you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
Just occurred to me, we have been in person this whole time, and we haven't slapped 5 even once. Let's slap some 5.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, right. Guys like us, you get us in a room together.
We're going to slap some 5.
Oh, shit, man.
We're going to slap some 5.
Guys being dudes, dudes being bros.
This is Tab After Dark.
Told our wives that earlier, and they did not
like it.
No one liked it.
Funny. No one liked it.
Or charming.
There were other people there, too, and they didn't like it.
No.
No one We like it though.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. Let's do it again. Let's have some 5. All right.
Hell yeah. I hope the mic picked that up. That was a good one.
All right, we're gonna run down some moves. I think we could.
Been really funny if we broke the mic.
I almost didn't do it because I was worried we're gonna fuck something up, but it seems to still be running. I'm like constantly checking all my little stuff here.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
All right, let's run down these.
We got a lot.
Let's get through them. Yeah. Let's get through them.
All right, the Red Sox have signed Walker Buehler, former Dodgers ace, to a 1-year deal worth $21 million. I think this is great.
Yeah, I honestly, it's higher than I was expecting. Obviously, the upside is there, but I take it there must have been some degree of bidding where we know the Athletics were in on him and he turned it down.
Tigers were also mentioned.
Yeah, so obviously, the upside's there, the skill's there. The Red Sox are clearly they're trying to compete this year.
Yeah,
and if you get good Walker Buehler, it's gonna really help compete.
And, you look at what the Red Sox were able to do with their pitching staff. Pretty much everyone on that staff took a step forward. I would not be surprised if, there's part of part of Walker Buehler that is like, well, I don't know, they had a little magic in the water. Yeah. Maybe I can scoop some of that up. Now, he's leaving maybe the best pitching development team in baseball, but he's making $21 million bucks.
Anymore,
right, exactly.
So I don't think the offer was on the table. They're probably about to get Sasaki, and it's going to drive us all crazy.
I really hope they don't.
Well, you said Jock also.
Yeah, I was a little ahead of myself.
And I think we start to understand the Nate Lau move a little bit more with what the Rangers have just done.
Yeah, the Rangers have signed Jock Peterson to a 2-year, $37 million contract, which is impressive for Jock. He kind of had I feel like he's not getting enough credit for the baller year he put up last year with his first year in Arizona. The guy was in 132 games. He doinked 23 dongs, a 151 WRC plus, Nate. That is the highest he's ever had in his career. Obviously a good offensive ballpark down there. But he put up 3 WAR as basically a DH only and made himself almost $40 million.
Yeah, well, he was trending towards platoon only power guy, which can be valuable and sought after by teams, but not $40 million sought after.
Yeah,
and the degree at which he was successful in that role with Arizona obviously made the Rangers with their ballpark and their power filled team. They felt like it's worth the risk, and it's probably going to work out for him.
Yeah.
It was a pretty awesome year in Arizona.
Moving down the list, we talked about this earlier, but Christian Walker has been signed to the Astros on a 3-year, $60 million contract. I don't know how to feel about this move. It was kind of more and less at the same time. He's kind of old. I don't know.
Yeah, I think $20 million a year for this guy is probably pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't know if 37-year-old Christian Walker is going to necessarily be pretty good, but he's pretty good right now.
Yeah,
he's going to hit a lot of home runs, and we've talked about his defense for years now, and for that price, I think it's a pretty good deal for the Astros. I think they'll be happy about it.
He's a great defender.
Yeah,
and they basically had no one playing first base last year. Jose Abreu is dead. Gone.
No, didn't he just sign somewhere?
Did he?
I feel like I just saw he signed.
Google it, Nate. Google it.
I'm almost certain he returned to the White Sox. But
really?
Yeah.
I know Eloy Jimenez just got signed, which was surprising. But we're not going to talk about that. While you're Googling that, I'll move on. The Pirates have made the bold decision to bring back Andrew McCutchen for the 3rd year in a row for $5 million. I hope they just keep doing this until baseball or Andrew McCutchen are done.
Yeah.
It's nice to see him in a Pirates uniform. Maybe they'll be good someday. Probably not because they keep doing stuff like this. But from an outsider's perspective, go Pirates.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Legacy, like, you love it. I don't know what I was talking about with Jose Abreu. I really thought
Nate has
signed somewhere.
Drinking on Christmas.
It's time after dark, baby.
Oh, shit. All right. Moving down the list, the Mets have brought back Sean Manaea, left-handed pitcher who had like a crazy change around midseason last year. 3 years, $75 million. I think this deal is probably a good deal. Steve Cohen doesn't care about money, so who cares? It's really, do you believe in the change that he made? He moved his arm slot last year, and if you watch the Mets in the playoffs, he was great.
Yeah.
So if you buy that, then this deal might be a steal. He might be that dude again.
Yeah.
Because he was making people look stupid.
He really was. And when money doesn't matter to you at all, and you're trying to win right now, which they obviously are, you could do a lot worse than Sean Manaea. And yeah, there's upside there. He's older, but we're still seeing that upside out there. Worst case scenario, oh no, you're paying him $25 million a year for nothing, but that doesn't really matter to the Mets.
Right.
So, I mean, like I don't want to start ranting about all that, but like if you just take it for what it is, like it makes a lot of sense for the Mets.
And I'll just to take a moment to soapbox. This is one of the reasons why I love baseball so much, though. It's like Sean Manaea he's never been a bad pitcher. He's never been a great pitcher.
Sure.
He's been in the league for almost 10 years. He's 32 years old. Mid-season makes a change and immediately makes himself almost $80 million. Yeah. And like I said, if you're buying this could be a steal. He could be underpaid.
Yeah.
And I just love that about baseball.
Do you think it's because baseball has so much data? Like, why? I mean, I know every sport has there's the contract year, there's the pillow contract. That happens everywhere.
Yeah.
But it certainly seems like a half season of good results when you're about to become a free agent has far more of an impact.
Well, I think
any other sport.
I think part of it is like you're making that adjustment, and then that adjustment can be proved.
Right.
To a higher degree than other sports.
Because you have the data.
But it's also a thing like LeBron James isn't going to learn a new shot at 32 years old, right?
Yeah.
Like, and actually, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a huge NBA guy by any means. Maybe he could. Maybe that has happened. Maybe there's been a player that has done something like that. But as a pitcher, you can learn a new shot. You can start throwing something you've never thrown before. Or with I'm forgetting the Jose Bautista, you make a swing adjustment and now you're the best power hitter in baseball.
Sure.
I just can't think of an equivalent of any other sport of it working like that. I'm sure there are examples, but none that are coming to mind.
In
right
football,
now.
you're like, I'm gonna actually catch the ball now.
Yeah, right. Like I'm gonna stop dropping it. I'm going to throw more touchdowns. Like, you know?
Once I decided to throw more touchdowns, things were like way better for me.
Is that what Tom Brady woke up and said every day? More touchdowns.
More touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tweet at us. I mean, skeet at us on Blue Sky.
Torque at us.
Yeah. Okay. The Nationals and Rangers made a trade. Nate just references. The Nationals have acquired Nathaniel Lowe.
Great name.
From the Rangers in exchange for Robert Garcia, left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense for the Rangers to get rid of Nate Lowe.
Is it Lowe?
Lowe?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. What matters is he's a Nate.
I thought, dumbass.
He's fine. You know, he's like a Cardinal type player.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything wrong. But he also doesn't really do anything that sets him apart from anyone else.
He's a first baseman that doesn't hit homers.
Right.
So he's kind of got like
he hits for contact.
Yeah.
He plays a pretty good first base. He's going to get on base. He doesn't not hit home runs. He just doesn't hit 30 home runs. Right. But he's getting older. He was good for them for a little while, but it makes sense for them. They basically, with Jock Peterson, and they're chasing upside a little bit more. With Nate Lowe, there is not upside at this point to chase. So they're moving on. The Nationals are desperate for anyone to play first base for them. Well, so it kind of just makes sense across the board.
This means that Juan Yepez is not getting that long look at first.
I know.
Wow.
Here we say Yepez.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Another big trade. The Phillies and Marlins made a large, not a blockbuster, but a big trade. The Phillies have acquired Jesus Luzardo or the Jesus Lizard.
Sure.
And Paul McIntosh, who is a minor league catcher from the Marlins. The Marlins received Starlin Caba, a shortstop prospect, and Amarion Boyd, an outfield prospect.
So first of all, it's always frustrating when you see well-run organizations do what you've been wanting the Cardinals to do for quite a while.
Yeah.
Which is trade for a high-end Marlins starter.
Yeah.
I think we both have been pretty high on Jesus Luzardo for a while.
Yep.
He's kind of exactly the guy that we wanted them to trade for over the last couple
of
of years.
Strikeouts.
Yeah. He has had mixed results. A lot of it is due to injury, though.
Yeah.
When he's healthy, he's typically very effective. He's a high strikeout guy. If you look at his underlying metrics from last year, he had a very good year, got very unlucky, and then got hurt. So a really good buy low candidate. And in my opinion, buy low is exactly what they did. This trade, I kind of feel like the Phillies gave up almost nothing. The Marlins have a type. It's slap-hitting, speedy guys.
I hate how they're running.
I don't know why they just keep accruing slap-hitting, speedy guys.
Mm-hmm.
There is no team in the last 30 years that has been successful being built around slap-hitting, speedy guys. Sure, we all like them. You want one or two. They're the fan favorite.
Yeah.
But you can't build your whole team around that. And so I think that the Phillies probably got a steal here. I mean, there's some risk, obviously. Yeah. Luzardo has had his struggles, but the upside is there for them. They're in win now mode. And I don't really think they gave up much to the Marlins. I mean, these guys might contribute at the major league level, but I don't suspect at any degree that would make you be like, damn, shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. A deal that's not on our outline, but I'll just mention really quickly, is the Phillies also acquired Max Kepler. So their big league roster is locked as it gets. Yeah. And this makes their starting rotation Zach Wheeler, who is arguably the best pitcher in starting pitcher in baseball. He's 1, 2, 3 right there.
Sure.
Christopher Sanchez, who had a fantastic year last year. Aaron Nola, who just made $1 gajillion to stay with them, who's obviously very talented. Ranger Suarez, maybe a very underrated but very good pitcher.
Sure.
And Jesus Luzardo, who could be the second best pitcher of all of those guys, is locked in at their number 5 spot. There is a decent chance that they have 5 starters in the top 50 ranked in baseball, which is just the best starting rotation in baseball. You also
have to assume a team with that good a pitching development, which they have.
Clearly.
If they targeted Jesus Luzardo, then you got to feel a little bit like they must not be too worried about his medicals.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's a great move. And unless you're a Phillies fan, and this sucks.
Yeah.
But I guess good for Kelsey. She gets to watch Jesus Luzardo going forward.
True.
All right. 2 deals that kind of combine into one. I'll read them all off really quick. The Guardians have brought back for the 3rd time Carlos Santana to play first base. Cool. Guitar riff by Nate on a 1-year, $12 million contract. To be clear, this is the baseball. It
sounded like Bad to the Bone, and I was going for smooth.
Do you want to try again?
Well, it's a hot one.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And the Diamondbacks have acquired their former first baseman, Josh Naylor, from the Guardians. And the Guardians received Slade Cassoni, a right-handed pitcher, and a competitive balance round B draft pick. So obviously the Guardians ship out their young first baseman for an old first baseman, and the Diamondbacks acquire a new first baseman with Christian Walker moving on, and the Guardians get a pitching prospect that looks fairly unexciting. Your thoughts, Nate?
Well, I think Slade is a cool name.
Hell yeah.
He is also, that is the name of the Phantom Rider from Marvel.
Keep going. Cook, son, Cook.
Wade Wilson, Deadpool.
Yep.
Is a
this is what you're giving me.
Is like aping Slade.
Okay.
So now you all know that. Wade Wilson he kind of looks like Phantom Rider, who is Slade.
Okay.
And I think that's cool.
That's it.
If you want, I guess, another opinion,
yeah.
I think that's what you're trying to get from me right now. I think this is a phenomenal move for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And I don't really get what the Guardians are doing here. Naylor just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Like maybe last year was a career year. There's a good chance that was a career year for him. But even if that's the case, he's still pretty good. And he's going to be awesome for the Diamondbacks, I think.
He's 27 right now. He'll be 28 next year.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I was confused immediately. I guess
they moved on from him and Jimenez. It's wild.
Carlos Santana knows where the bathrooms are, so that's cool. They like that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Guardians are an organization that we typically think is very well ran.
Yeah,
but they do this. They do. They trade these. It's like the Rays. I mean, I know it's part of the small market thing, right? But it's not like he was too expensive yet, and I think that they're still a competitive team. So I don't know why you move on from Naylor, and if you're gonna move on from Naylor, I'm surprised that this is all they got back, because I feel like Naylor would be an improvement for most teams. So I was pretty surprised by this.
I was too. I hope the Diamondbacks extend him, keep him around, give him some money. I don't like the brother Naylors being broken up.
Yeah, that's always fun.
There's two Canadians. They're both brothers. They play on the same team. That's just good baseball right there.
Right.
Also, the guy's a total lunatic. Like, I have to imagine there has to be a pretty significant cultural hit for the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't really get it. Carlos Santana put up 3 WAR last year as an almost 40-year-old. That one was better. But yeah, it's kind of a silly move, and it's not doesn't make a ton of sense. But knowing the Guardians, it'll probably work out.
Well, sure. I mean, they'll just whether it's these guys or some other guy.
Yeah.
They're gonna replace the production. But yeah, I just feel like they could have gotten more if you're going to move on from him.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. I don't totally know how to value those competitive balance picks. And I only know that Slade was the inspiration for Deadpool.
Okay.
And so I don't.
A little bit of sad news to end league news. And that is that Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time,
Man of Steel.
Ricky Henderson.
Not doing another superhero reference, although it is in and of itself a superhero reference. Yeah, I mean, Henderson is one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
I've referenced it on the show before. The Dollop, one of my favorite podcasts, did a multi-part episode on Ricky Henderson, and I highly, highly recommend it if you're looking for another perspective on his life. And it's just an enjoyable listen. Shocking, too young. I don't know what to say, what hasn't already been said about Ricky Henderson. Just I hope that we get more players and people like Ricky Henderson in baseball, because he was incredible.
He hit almost 300 home runs. He walked more than he struck out. He played for 24 years. He had a single season where he stole 130 bases.
Yeah.
He is the best leadoff hitter of all time. And happened to be great at every other aspect of the game. Also, he probably has the best baseball stories of any major league player that I can think of.
Yeah.
He spoke in the third person. He's a total lunatic. And I think one of the great characters of baseball. The peaks of his career, he put up over 10 WAR in a season. He hit 28 home runs as the fastest player in baseball and best base stealer. I mean, he is bigger than life, as big as they get. Inner Circle Hall of Famer.
Yeah. He also dealt with racism and prejudice his entire career. It held him. He might have even had an even more astronomical career if he didn't have to deal with all of that. Just a phenomenal person.
His first season was in 1979. His final season was in 2003. That is wild.
Yeah, then I'm going to get some of the details of this a little bit wrong, but near the end of his career, when he was no longer competing at the major league level, he stayed in the minor leagues, and he won the minor league MVP at 47 years old or something like that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's just truly incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah, one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
And not old at all. He Yeah, it sucks. He was 66 years old when he passed away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for league news.
Well, let's transition to something very stupid.
Yeah.
We
were gonna do that no matter what.
So I'm gonna end it with a little game here. We're going to play True or False Christmas Edition.
Okay.
So I got a series of stats here. Some of them Christmas related, some of them St. Louis Cardinal related, and you have to tell me, is it true or false?
Okay.
All right. In Japan, people celebrate Christmas by going to McDonald's.
Oh, well, I know McDonald's is a big thing in Japan. I want that to be true, so I'm going to say true.
That is false.
Damn.
They go to KFC.
Yeah, that's better. That's more Christmassy.
Yeah.
Get some mashed potatoes, so on and so forth.
My understanding of it, and this was just anecdotal from one person, but they basically, in an attempt to recreate the like big turkey dinner sort of thing, Japan is not a particularly like Christian. They're not really into Christmas in that regard, so they're just going at the celebration and the tradition and the fun of it.
Sure.
KFC was the closest thing they have to getting like a big turkey American, Western style dinner.
I'd love to go to KFC tomorrow.
All right. The first MLB position player to wear eyeglasses during a game was a St. Louis Cardinal player.
It was?
True or false?
Oh, wow. I have absolutely no idea. As a non-glasses wearer and a perfect human being, I don't pay attention to these types of things.
Well, as human 2.0, who eyesight will not be necessary in the future.
That'll be the thing to go, of course, yeah. I'm going to say that is not. I'm just going to say it's not true. I don't want that one to be true. Nerds suck.
Damn. George Specs Toporser played for the St. Louis Cardinals from 1921 through 1928.
Wow.
He was the first to wear glasses in the professional league.
Really?
And his nickname was Specs.
Was he good?
I don't know.
Okay.
All I have is the little fun fact here.
All right.
All right. Alabama was the first U.S. state to officially recognize Christmas.
Alabama was the first. No, false. There's no way.
You're 0 for 3, my dude.
Well, are you kidding me?
Yeah. In 1838.
How? Okay.
True or false? Joseph Creepy Crespi was the leadoff hitter for the 1942 World Series champions, St. Louis Cardinals.
Creepy.
Yep.
Okay, I gotta not trust my instincts anymore. I'm gonna say, why would they call him creepy? Was that even like a common? It must have been related to the way that he played. Maybe he was creeping around the bases. You said leadoff hitter, so it's probably fast. I'm gonna say that is true.
Ben, you got one, and you are actually exactly right. They said he creeped around the base paths.
Let's go,
Ben. The average age of a Christmas tree when it is cut down is 15 years old.
That feels way too old. I'm going to say that's false.
You're wrong. That is true.
Really?
Yep.
15 years?
I was surprised as well.
Wow.
Yep. Average.
Damn. Cutting down teenagers left and right.
All right.
We need to get some GMOs in those trees, baby.
Right?
Shoot it up.
The Arch Series was the name of the 1944 World Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the St. Louis Browns.
What they call it? No, the Arch wasn't built then, so no, false.
All right, yeah.
Almost got me there.
Yep, I was wondering if you would catch that. So that really did happen in 1944, the Browns and the Cardinals, but it was referred to as the Streetcar Series.
There we go. I think I knew that somewhere in the recesses of my mind.
One of 2 World Series that has played the whole thing in one stadium.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what the other one was.
Chicago?
No, it was another sort of interesting situation. I don't know. All right. All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey
Yeah.
is the best-selling single record of all time with over 100 million sales.
Of all time. I mean, wow. I mean, I looked it up today. I think she wrote it. She put it out in 1994, so it's had a while to percolate. But I mean,
it's funny you looked it up today.
It's Christmas.
Well, that's a good point. But yeah, I guess of all days to look it up today is the most likely day.
But the Beatles and Elvis and shit, man. But people love Christmas. Do you like that song?
I like it as much as I like any Christmas music. Okay. Which, I like Christmas music at its peak is B tier for me. Okay. If that makes sense.
Sure.
My favorite Christmas song is Little Drummer Boy / Peace on Earth by Bing Crosby and David Bowie.
Sure.
And I legitimately love that song. I just think it's a really good song. After that, it all falls into novelty music camp for me, which I can get down on some novelty music, but it's never gonna it peaks at B tier basically.
Sure. Okay. I want to say false because I don't want it to be true.
Is that your answer?
False.
You are correct.
Thank God.
White Christmas by Irving Berlin is the best-selling single record of all time.
Wow. I mean, it makes more sense because he has the longer runway, of course. But I still kind of hate
It's still surprising, but it's Christmas music, and it's global, and,
Irving Berlin.
All right, last one.
Okay.
After being cleared from COVID, the Cardinals took 41 private planes from St. Louis to Chicago to avoid further infection.
No, false. That's insane.
That's true. They did cars. They rented. Okay. Do you remember this by any chance?
Well, what I was just thinking was that after you have COVID, then you're kind of you're not immune to it, but you're much less likely to get. So I was thinking that just doesn't make any sense. But no, I don't remember that. That's insane.
Yeah, there was
they were in Chicago, right? So they could just drive down pretty easily. Yeah.
There was a little bit of hubbub around social media. They basically every single player and members of the staff and whatnot rented individual cars, and they drove in one giant caravan from Chicago to St. Louis.
Very funny.
Yeah.
Huh. It'd be fun to see that on the highway.
Right? Yeah. Was that Paul Goldschmidt? No way. Wait, was that Nolan Arenado?
Are they driving Sonatas in the middle of Illinois? What the hell?
Yeah, because they're getting a beige.
They're not all getting the higher quality cars or whatever.
Not like you driving around in an Audi this week.
That's right. Shout out to my cousin Matt for that hookup there.
All right, well, that's gonna do it, Ben. You did okay. You did okay.
Fine. Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, and that's gonna do it for this episode. Our year-end in-person episode.
Wow.
Of talking about birds. We did it.
Our best one yet.
This is our best. Let's do it. Let's slap five one more time. Boom.
Hell yeah.
All right. We'll be back next week in our normal format, which really doesn't really matter to anyone else, but I won't have to be so close to Ben while we do it. It'll be right after the New Year. So Happy New Year to everyone.
Wow.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Christmas is also the start of Hanukkah this year. So Happy Hanukkah to everybody.
If you hate all that stuff, then rock and roll to you too.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully we get some more Cardinal news next week. But if not, surely we'll find some bullshit to talk about.
We got this, yeah.
And until then,